Okay. We'll call the meeting to order for the Board of Public Utilities Board members. First will be, oath of office.
Shauna, we get you to do the oath for Greg. Cool. Sign, but you just hold the reading back. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state as for faith and justice and with the office of the Coldwater Board of Public Utilities to the best of my ability. Now, if you'd like to sign here. Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna.
Yep, have a great meeting. Yeah.
Is there any public comment?
Did the board receive any emails prior to 3:30 today from anybody?
No, ma'am. Moving on to the minutes. First will be the regular meeting of the Board of Directors held September 3rd of 2025. Next will be the regular meeting of the Michigan South Central Power Agency Board of Commissioners held on August 7th of 2025. Next will be departmental reports for the Board of Public Utilities operation reports and financial statements for August of 2025. The bills and accounts for period ending September 30th of 2025. The power supply cost projections, the Public Utilities Week proclamation. Is there any questions on any of those items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I've got a motion.
Support.
Got a motion support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you, guys. Next is going to be the introduction of the new hire, Josh Williams, which is going to be a journeyman lineman.
All right, good evening, President Stevens, members of the board. I'm here to introduce Josh Williams, comes to us as a lineman, started with us in August, and he's proven to be a valuable asset to the team. So with that, I'll let him formally introduce himself.
Evening, everybody. Name's Josh Williams. Grew up around these parts. I'm originally from Reading, Michigan. Moved away. I'm going on 11 years as a lineman. Married, and life kind of brought me back to this area. So here I am.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me as well.
Next, we will move on to the regular agenda. First is going to be the energy waste reduction plan. Monica, we'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, President Stevens and members of the board. I'm Monica McCowan. I work with CBPU, Key Accounts, and Energy Waste Reduction. I'd like to speak to you today about our energy waste reduction plan for the upcoming year of 2026 and 2027. Our energy waste reduction plan standard was created under Public Act 295 of 2008. Implementation of the program encourages electric utility customers to reduce overall energy usage in order to reduce the future cost of service. This was amended by Public Act 342 in 2016 and most recently Public Act 229 of 2023, also known as the Clean and Renewable Energy and Energy Waste Reduction Act. Michigan electric utilities have two options to be compliant with this new law. We have the option to opt in. In doing so, there would be no EWR plan filing, and it would require a minimum 2-year participation. In doing so, with the state plan that is ran through Efficiency United, also administered by Clear Result. The estimated cost to participate in this plan is between 3 to 3.5% of the previous retail sales, calculated on a utility basis. So for CBPU, that would be approximately $1.5 million. This cost estimate does also not capture the increased 1.5 annual energy savings requirement, the 25% low income program spending, or any of the EFL measures, and those would add additional cost. Due to such a high cost, it is most most beneficial to opt out of this plan and do our own EWR program, as we have done since 2009. The new PPA 229 requirements for our opt-out option, the new changes each year beginning in 2026. Pardon me, I didn't go to the next slide. Not getting anything here. Nikki, can I have you pop over the next slide?
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of not working on my end. Okay, perfect. So with the new changes, we must now achieve energy savings of 1.5% of total retail electricity sales from the preceding year. Previously, that was only at 1%. So it's 0.5% higher. In addition, low income or EWR spending must be at least 25% of the total budget. Previously, there was no mandated spending percentage on that. So that's increased quite a bit. We are now able to incorporate an efficient electrification measure or EFEL savings. Before we weren't allowed to capture those as part of our savings, but we are able to do that now. And then also we can substitute up to 10% of our EWR requirement with RECs or renewable energy certificates, which we can do through our EcoSmart Choice program. For the PA 229 efficient electrification measures, those measures shall provide health and safety benefits to occupants on the premises or meet the following criteria, which is to reduce total energy consumption, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and provide annual energy saving costs. In order to do that, what we would do is calculate what those savings are based on the fossil fuel energy consumed by the baseline. So if we were to have, let's say, a gas stove, we would take what that baseline is used on gas. If we then replaced it with an induction stovetop, we would take those savings and then subtract that to find the reduction of total energy consumption. We would then convert from BTU to kilowatt hours, and then we would be able to use that savings towards our goals. Now that we can include electrification measures towards our energy savings, we would like to add some rebates to include that electrification. One of the ways we'd like to do that is by using electric lawn tools and rebating those. And also we'd like to pair up to work with recycling of the gas equipment of that exact lawn equipment. We are going to be partnering with BizAid Recycling to take that. So if you get a new electric string trimmer, you can get a rebate of $25 for that. And then if you recycle a gas string trimmer with BizAid, you'll get a coupon, bring that in and submit with your rebate, and now you'll get $50 for that same string trimmer. This is available for our residential as well as commercial and industrial. We'd also like to add a rebate for induction cooktops for residential customers with minimum of 3 elements. Induction cooking uses electromagnetic field that transfers currents directly to the cookware placed on glass surfaces, making them much more energy efficient than a gas stove or an electric stovetop. For our commercial customers, we'd like to offer rebates for electric forklifts, which those are designed to be more energy efficient with advancements in battery technology and charging infrastructure.
When do these new rebates start?
These would start in 2026, January 1st of 2026.
No.
I can have next slide. I don't know if it's a battery, but also, as part of our electrification measures, we'd like to rebate the installation of EV chargers. This would be available for residential EV charging. So it just must be a level 2 for residential. And that would be capped off at $500. For commercial and industrial chargers, if it's a level 2, that would be capped at $2,000 per charger. And for a level 3 fast charger, that would be capped at $5,000 per electric charger. We would like to also adjust our rebates to be more in line with current energy savings. We'd like to add an Energy Star heat pump clothes dryer. We'd also like to update our seasonal energy efficiency ratio, or SEER, to the SEER 2, which is a new energy efficiency standards held by the Department of Energy for any HV or HVAC systems. In addition to doing that, we'd like to add an additional higher, if it's a higher SEER 2, to be able to have a higher rebate for those as well. The PA 229 added a new low-income component, which we talked about a little earlier, which requires at least 25% of new spending requirement to be used towards low-income customers and projects. We would like to implement the CBPU Low-Income Energy Efficiency Assistance Program. This would provide up to $5,000 for eligible households to complete energy efficiency upgrades in an income-qualified home. This program aims to reduce energy costs, improve comfort, and improve the health and safety of occupants. They must be a CBPU residential electric customer in good standing, be at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. They also must be in a single multifamily residential home or apartment, and applicants must live in the home year-round as their primary residence. This funding can be used for energy audits or any eligible equipment such as air conditioners, refrigerators, ranges, dishwashers, anything that's going to improve the health and safety of the occupants. Our EWR program currently is funded through levelized surcharges on customer utilities accounts. These are the current surcharges that are listed here. The existing surcharge level is aligned with our operational and financial needs and sufficient to cover the new changes. Therefore, it is not recommended to increase these surcharges at this time. In order for CBPU to be in compliance with the new rules as laid out by the legislature, staff has recommended the approval of the above aforementioned changes to our existing energy waste reduction program. If approved, staff will submit the program to the Michigan Public Service Commission. Are there any questions? We are asking the board to approve the revisions made to the energy waste reduction program and authorize submission to the Michigan Public Service Commission.
Do you have any question on it, or do we want to talk amongst ourselves on it, or?
Questions?
Okay.
Pretty cut and clear.
Now, one thing that the program does, just to let everyone know, is this board is the governing body for what this program is. When we submit it to the PSC, they will just look at the program and say, okay, your board approved it. So they have really no say in what we do on a local level.
I would think the only hard part would be internally would be managing it for low income. How do we manage to do 25% or more? Do we deny someone else to make sure low income could get it, or how is that going to happen?
Well, I believe first of all, the thing we would have to have is enough folks applying for it.
Mhm.
And then all of those have to be pre-approved. So if we don't have enough funds for that year, then we would unfortunately have to deny somebody. But we would just have to set enough aside of what our previous year was for that program. So we would already know what our previous year sales were. So we would just set enough money aside for that program specifically.
What if we don't have enough people that are low income, that I said, what, 200% below poverty level, that actually wants?
That actually provide, and that is something that even other utilities are facing. I believe with the state, as long as you are providing that service and offering that, that's kind of all we can do. We have a program in place, and we're doing our best to do that because this is new as far as that 25%. So I think the state is out, as long as you're offering that program, then that is, all we can do. We can't make people do it.
It seems like a difficult number, I think, for any utility to try to hit that. So
Absolutely.
that's why I bring it up. How do we maneuver that? So
Absolutely.
that
I've
was a
been
good
in
answer.
several roundtables with different utilities throughout Michigan, and for the past year, and it has been just a resounding, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And so there's a couple utilities that are working on this program that currently already have this. And so I thought this would, to me, seem to be the most, that hopefully we'd get maybe the most enrolled and be able to offer that 25%.
Yeah, in the end, we can just do the best effort that we can with education and marketing and that, but we really can't drag people through the front door and give them money for energy efficiency just to meet our goals. And ultimately, you know, one of the questions that was always brought up is if we have a new customer come in that is gold lead certified and they bring another $1 million worth of revenue to us, that's going to add to what we have to provide. And they can't, there's not a whole lot that they can do to help us meet these goals because they're already there. So it's the expenses that we're looking at, the money that we're budgeting and receiving for this is far outweighs what we'd be paying the state and not being able to have that personal touch with our customers.
So the motion on the table would be, if we decide to, is to opt out, right?
We pretty much have already opted out.
Okay. We don't
Because
need a motion for that then? We just need a motion for
For
the
the-
rate changes and stuff like that and the additions?
yes, sir.
Okay,
The programmatic changes that we made to the program.
okay. Everyone understand where I was going with that? Okay. Just want to make sure it was clear. So what is the desire of the board?
I would make that motion.
Okay,
Support.
got a motion support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion has passed. Thanks, Monica. Next on the agenda is going to be the Energy Assistance Program. Stacy Russell, I will turn it over to you.
Good evening, I'm Stacy Russell, the Customer Service Manager. Here to talk about the new low income energy assistance. Michigan has made some significant changes.
You gotta have the right spot.
Dance for us.
It's not going. I just set it up here. Okay, Michigan has made some significant changes to the utility assistance programs. They have expanded funding and eligibility criteria. The program is funded by a per meter charged that's assessed on electric billing meters. Utilities with less than 45,000 residential customers have the option to opt out if they have a program that matches MEP eligibility requirements. Utilities that opt out are not qualified for MEP funds. Previously, the household income guideline was kind of low or high. Now they're setting it so the eligibility criteria has almost doubled, which you'll see in a further slide. If I can get the button to work. The state requires a surcharge for each customer to be paid to them if you opt in. That surcharge would be $1.25 per meter. And those funds the state would manage and distribute as they see needed. To opt out, we would have to show that we have approximately 112,000 in our budget. With that, we would have to assist with any gas utility bill, but that customer would have to be a CBPU electric customer. We have a commitment with Jacobs Well to implement this program. And we must complete the annual reports to the Public Service Commission, and Jacobs Well will help with those reports. The assessment criteria would be the income level, household size, and income. Assess for any crisis, past due notices, or need for deliverable fuel. So being an opt-out electric provider, the partnership with Jacobs Well Ministries, we would take into consideration the vulnerable populations, children under the age of 5 in the home, any individual with a disability, or over the age of 60, or anyone who has experienced homelessness in the past 12 months. With this chart, you can see the change in the income levels that the criteria would be now. It was 110% of the FPL. Now it's going to 60% of the state median. Okay, and hold on. In partnering with Jacobs Well, the customers would have first apply to DHS. DHS would either assist them and or refer them to Jacobs Well. Jacobs Well could then determine the amount of the commitment. They could approve up to $500 capped per fiscal year per customer. Jacobs Well would also determine if a customer would qualify for Michigan gas assistance. Again, that customer must be a CBPU electric customer. They would also, the Jacobs Well would also take an administration fee of 15%. Any remaining funds left at the end of the fiscal year would roll over into the following year. So the policy changes would be in the past, we were not shutting electric off from November 1st to April 15th. With the new state law, we would be able to, and I would propose that we change the policy so that we can, but we are throwing in the criteria with the weather not to be predicted to be below 34 degrees within the following 24-hour period. If the weather were to be below 34, we would still be able to disconnect the water and internet in those months as we do now. So this is the rules, rates, and regs changes, the first paragraph currently. And the changed one is we pretty much just took out the dates on that one. And then the last paragraph, we changed to incorporate the weather restrictions and that we could shut off electric customers in those months. The benefits of this is we would not have to pass along that charge to our customers. CBPU would know where the funds are going. We would be saving approximately $50,000 if we were to opt in and paid the $112,000. We, in the past, have maybe collected $50,000 to $60,000 for energy assistance. And that's it. Any questions?
I have one. I'm kind of confused on the gas bill thing.
I figured that was gonna come up.
So, I mean, if we can't turn off internet and stuff like that, certain times of the year, what is like Frontier do? They have to pay a gas bill because they want their electric or their telephone bill paid?
That's the Michigan state law. If we were to opt out, we have to have those funds for its deliverable fuel for heating assistance. But they have to be our electric customer.
That seems very discriminative against public power.
So it's not, it's just all electric utilities in the state can either opt in or opt out. And if you opt out, you have to be able to provide assistance for gas customers if they're your electric customers. So let's just take consumers who opts in because they just pass on the cost to the customer. By going into the program, if you are a consumer's customer and you can't pay your gas bill, all you have to do is bring in your electric bill saying that I'm a consumer's electric customer, and Consumers Electric, out of that MEAP fund that the state has, that pool of money, they will give you X amount, whatever that formula is, to help pay your gas bill.
But Consumers in some areas also does provide natural gas.
So
So that's like
so let's just say Hillsdale or DTE,
sure.
it'd be the same thing. That everyone has to put money into this pot, other than the gas companies, to be able to pull out for the heating and the energy assistance.
So does that go vice versa for like Michigan gas utilities? They have to pay a power bill?
No.
That's what I was saying. That's a little discriminative.
No. Now, the short answer is no, they do not. So
Okay.
we have gone through this quite extensively with MMEA and our legislative folks, tried to get them to change the rule. The original rule had that all utilities had to opt in. That got changed to be utilities under 45,000, that customers have the ability to opt out. The biggest thing for any utility that opts out is making sure that, one, that they show an equal amount of money that we would have paid into the state program, and two, that we have a program of how we're going to implement this. We could implement this inside, or we can just do it outside. What we're looking at for this program is to do it outside to start. We may bring it on inside, but it's a lot of paperwork. We don't want to technically be responsible for the qualification of customers. That's why the state is still allowing everyone to use DHS to be that qualifying factor. What's going to happen, what we envision is that if a customer cannot pay their bill, they'll either come in here, call, dial 211, get some information, they'll go to DHS. DHS will use funds that they have available, these SEER funds that they have. If they don't have enough in there to help them, then they will look on a list saying, okay, you belong to an opt-out utility. Here is the location, Jacob's Well, that will provide you the information and the assistance that is required per the state program, the MEET program. One of the other reasons that we decided to opt out is all this money that goes into the state, they can't guarantee that it's going to be used regionally. So we're not 100% sure that if we charge all of our customers that $1.25 or the $112,000, that would all come back to our customers or to our residents here in the city. So we felt that because of historically, our assistance has been $40,000 to $50,000 a year. We figured, let's go with this year, see how it goes, and then make that determination next year. If it turns out that we're paying more, it may be beneficial for us to be part of that program. If we're still paying what we're thinking, the best thing would be for us to continue with our opt-out as we've done in the past. So with Stacy's presentation, there's kind of two parts. One is just to let you know what our program is going to be moving forward, because part of what we have to do is we have to advertise and make sure that our customers know what's available. So there'll be some internal education of our customer service reps and our employees as well too. So if someone asks them, we can direct them of what needs to be done. So that's the first part. The second part is this opting out allows us to be able to disconnect customers from that November 1st to the April 15th dates. We did some checking on what we've done in the past few months. So for the all electric customers, which is what we're really talking about, because we've always disconnected water and internet services, which kind of forced people to come in and pay all their bills and get their electric up to snuff and bring their accounts up to where they need to be. These would be a lot of residents that are outside the city limits that are electric only there. Apartments where they have a master water meter. So some of the new apartments where they only have an electric bill, those customers would be available to be disconnected. Trailer parks, as well as residential MDUs, multi dwelling units. So if you have a house that you converted into 4 apartment dwellings and you have a master meter for your water side of it, but individual electric meters, we would now be able to disconnect those electric meters as well too, for those individual customers, because the water meter is normally in the landlord's name. So those are the 4 main groups that would be affected by this ruling. The other thing we looked at, because one of the things that always gets talked about is health, right? Health and safety. And that's why we put the above the freezing mark in that portion of it. Now, if we get to a point that, let's say we disconnect someone on Tuesday and we look at the temperatures for the weekend, are they going to be higher? We would probably shut off the water at the same time, just so that we don't freeze pipes, and make sure that at least there is some indication that people in this location do not have electricity, just for health and safety issues. Some of the things that we looked at, roughly 20% of those in April of one cycle, 35% were all electric customers out of those that got disconnect notices. And out of those that get disconnected, 50% of them were all electric. So there is a trend out there. People do understand how some of the policies and procedures work. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, one, make it fair for everybody to show that we are treating everyone across the board the same way. Where in the past, like I said, if you were an electric only customer and you lived in one of those 4 locations, you kind of knew that your bills weren't, your electric wasn't going to be shut off. And there's really nothing that the utility could do because they didn't have any other services that we could shut off for them. So this just gives us another tool in our tool belt to be able to collect the money past due for this. Some of what we've seen is during these times, you would find that people would stop paying in November, December, and then would come in March, April and get caught up for those 2 or 3 months that they weren't paying bills because they knew they couldn't get shut off. Unfortunately, we have customers that happens to, not a lot, but it does happen. And like I said, this just gives us that tool to be able to shut off an all electric customer.
Do we believe this is gonna be offset for what we believe our write-offs are anyway?
Yes, right now we budgeted a little over $100,000 for this. And our write-offs about a little over $30,092. Why I remember that number that Carmen told me, I don't know, but that's what it was for 2024.
Okay,
So that should also help offset that portion of it as well.
any other questions for Stacy or Paul?
No.
Okay, what's the desire of the board on it?
This does gotta go to city council as well.
So yeah, there's 2 portions. One, just as an informational thing for that, let me.
So is the motion to opt out then of PA 95?
So we actually opted out in June.
Okay,
So now it's just a matter of presenting to you as more of an informational for you as well as the public, as far as what the plan is going forward for the heating months that'll start coming up in November. That's just informational. The second portion of it is just to ask for approval for agreement 2532 to Jacobs Well Ministries to go ahead and sign them on as our third-party implementer of our program. And then also to authorize a ordinance change number 877 to the rules, regulations and rates, and submit this to the city council for their approval and or their introduction and then adoption and then sit. So truly, if we go through all this and it gets approved by all the governing boards, we're looking at mid-November to be able to start disconnecting all electric customers.
motion to approve.
Support. Got a motion support? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion's passed. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, thanks, Stacy. Next on the agenda is the Public Act 152 opt-out. I'll turn this over to the utility director.
Thank you, President Stevens, members of the board. So PA 152 was established in 2011. It gave government agencies 3 options to handle health insurance. One is to do an 80-20 split between what the premiums are, to go by a hard cap, meaning that the utility or the city governmental agency cannot require the employees to pay more than whatever that hard cap number is, or we can opt out. So those are the 3 options that we have. Currently, this year, we're seeing the hard cap to be increased by 2.9%, and our health insurance rates are looking at going up 9.1%. So as we have done in the past, we have opted out, and the reason for that, we feel it's safest for us to do that because as we know, the way that insurance changes with life-changing things, getting married, having kids, getting divorced, those type of things always change. If we don't opt out and look at some of that stuff, we may be out of compliance because of these life changes that happen throughout the year for our employees. So one of the things that we are recommending, which we have in the past, is to opt out of PA 152. And that gives us the flexibility to we still used a hard cap number. It just gives us that flexibility if any life-changing events happen during that year, that is not going to put us out of compliance. I'd be happy to answer any questions for that.
We've opted out for quite a few years, right?
We have opted out for quite a few years.
Even back when you were on the board, I think we opted out.
I think so.
And we're still working on what the rates are gonna be for our employees. We had a conference, or we had a call this week with our insurance carrier, and we're looking at some other options as well too for our employees.
It's pretty standard though, right now at 9 to 12%.
Yes. And we are on the low end of
We
what
are
the
at the
pool
low
is.
end, yeah.
Yeah, we're higher-
What was
we're
the
higher
av-
than
was the
that.
average 12 to 15%, in that range is the average. And then there's some that are getting a lot more than that as well.
Any questions? What's the desire on the board? It'd be to approve resolution number 258098 and forward to city council for adoption if we do the opt out.
I will make that motion.
Thank you.
Or
Got a motion of support. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed, say nay. Motion is passed.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is going to be electric reliability presentation. Andrew, you're up.
Thank you, President Stevens. Good evening, members of the board. Here today to talk about electric reliability.
Very finicky.
I have you advancing for me, Nikki.
Yeah,
You gave up way too quick.
I know, I'm sorry.
I just gotta get out to go back in though. There you go.
So why do we track outages? We can use the data for a number of different things. We're looking at where these outages occur, how many customers are being affected, and how long our customers are being affected. We can use this data to then make data-driven decisions for things like budgeting, where to spend our money, where to do tree trimming to make sure we're getting the most bang for our buck, essentially. And making sure that we can reduce the number of outages as well as the durations in the future. By doing mitigation efforts such as overhead to undergrounding, tree trimming in heavily vegetated areas, or a number of different solutions. And then also we can do economic development with our reliability as well. It could be a metric for us to be able to attract new industry or development into our community. As well as gives a good reason for our existing CNI customers to make an investment again into our community. And I'll talk a little bit more on that bottom point a little bit later in the presentation as well. So then looking at Coldwater's 2024 data, there's going to be a bunch of different acronyms here, but essentially looking at our first number, the Katie, this is what the average restoration time would be. So we're just over an hour at 62 minutes. And obviously every year we want to drive that down. We want to get that number as low as possible. Next is going to be our SAFE, or our system average interruption frequency index. Essentially, this is a metric of how many outages an average customer should expect in a year if you're a Coldwater Electric customer. You might be thinking, what is half of an outage? Another way to think about this is that an average customer should expect an outage every 2 years. Or they would expect half the duration of what a normal outage is, which is what our next number, the SAIDI, is at 28 minutes. So if a customer were to experience an outage on average, they would experience a 28-minute loss of power. Next is looking at our AC, or essentially the percentage of time that power was available to an average customer. Most utilities are 99 point something. So it's not really a great metric to compare against, but typically the goal is to see 4 nines with 99.99. And then our outage count, we were at 70 total for 2024. And then I also just want to make a note that all this data comes from the EIA 861 annual benchmark report. And this is available historically for past 20 or so years. And you can look at any utility across the nation, be able to compare yourself to, which can make it really helpful for us to, again, do those types of efforts for why customers should make investments into our community. So looking at those 70 outages, here's the breakdown. The big three being for this year, vegetation, which would include a stick on the line, which would be a fairly quick restoration, versus a tree coming down and knocking down poles and lines, which would be much longer, say 8 hours plus. Animals is mostly squirrels with an occasional bird or raccoon at the substation, but typically squirrels. Then equipment failure is kind of a catch-all. type of category. So this could include aging infrastructure, worn out infrastructure, infrastructure that's damaged but hasn't failed yet. So it's a little bit artificially high, but is still, something that we want to drive down as much as possible. Vehicle accidents are one that we haven't seen this high in a while. Folks hitting poles mainly along US 12. Pole accidents tend to be longer durations, compared to the others. With hitting poles, typically multiple lines get brought down and can be rather detrimental. Weather, mostly wind for this past year. Not too bad compared to previous years. And then by far the worst types of outages that we have are the unknowns. We're not able to find a culprit. We're able to get power back on, but we're not able to gain any type of insight from that outage. We're not able to, do any type of planning to prevent or mitigate that in the future. So then looking at the accounts over the previous years, we can kind of see that it ripples throughout. I'll say that going back to 2015, we'll see a large jump. That's really as we were starting to deploy our AMI system or smart meters, which allowed us to get much more deeper information about our customers, our outages. So with more data, we're able be able to do more information. We're able to be more responsive. But it also makes our counts and our data look a little bit worse or a little bit more true, I'll say. But with 70 outages, not out of the ordinary, but it's definitely on the higher end, and we'd like to get that down. I've also shown 2025 so far. We're currently sitting at 49 outages. Usually we'll see a majority of those in the spring and in the summer, and we'll typically peter off for the end of the year. So hopefully that trend continues. Moving on, looking at our historical CAIDI or our customer average interruption duration index, or the average time to restore power, essentially. Again, we can see that there's some volatility throughout the years as well. Ended up being on the lower end for this year, so had a pretty good year with John and his team restoring power for 2024. The two peaks that we see in 2017 and then 2021 typically correlate with large weather events. So 21, we had the frost event as well as the blizzard. And in 27 and 17, we had some really bad wind that year. While the others are typically dominated by quicker responses like animals and the stick outages that I mentioned earlier. So it's also good to know where we're at in the utility realm. So for our SAIDI, or our system average interruption duration index, this is what outage a customer would experience. Decided to compare ourselves to our investor-owned friends in the state. I don't identify who they are, but we know who they are, and it doesn't necessarily matter who they are. It's a different business philosophy to where Coldwater and Public Power invests in our community, invests in our infrastructure, while investor-owned utilities are investing in their stakeholders, in their shareholders, and in their CEO. So we show them on the graph there. Coldwater's a little blue line that doesn't show up some years. And then over on the far hand side, I'll point you to the average at the bottom. So the average going back to 2013 for Coldwater was a 43-minute outage. That's what if a customer experienced an outage in that time frame, that's how long it was on average for a Coldwater resident. If you were an electric customer for the IOU1, shown in the next column, your average outage was 601. Well, a couple of times it was over 1,000 minutes, or 13 or so hours on average to restore an outage. And then investor owned 2, not doing any better. Again, average outage being 649 minutes over that period of time. So going back to talking about the economic development impact, if you're a customer looking to site a new business, you're going to know what your impact is for an outage. And a typical CNI or a large industrial outage is going to be something like $25,000 per hour. Some are much higher, some are a little bit lower than that, but that's a good frame of reference. So using those metrics, an average outage that a CNI customer would experience on Coldwater that gets impacted $25,000 would be about $18,000 for that outage. If you're on one of our investor-owned friends, it's north of $250,000 as impact your business. And not only are you experiencing longer outages, you're experiencing more outages on average. We go to the next slide, please, Nikki. Looking at our reliability goals, Coldwater participates in APPA, they're our national agency. We participate in their e-reliability tracker system. This is where we log and track our outage data to be able to generate our key performance indices. Participating in this program, APPA also produces an annual benchmark report that breaks down your reliability data based on the class or the size of the utility, as well as the region in the country that you're in, and compares you to your peers. So our goals are to always be in the top percentile for our region and for our class of utilities. And down below, I have listed where we were for 2024, as well as what those goals would have been. Now, some of the goals we have met, some we still got some improvement to go. But obviously, the big thing is to always be driving down counts and outage restoration times for our customer. And we can do that by doing asset management and preventative maintenance. So just an example of something that we're currently exploring is using drone technology for pole inspections to be able to get in front of these outages and prevent them from happening in the first place. So hopefully next month I'll be able to come back and speak a little bit more about this program that we're looking at. But just as an example, I show you a pole that is experiencing a number of different issues with the brace on the crossarm that's missing, a cracked pole, as well as experiencing a number of other issues. So this is a pole that we've been able to identify, make fixes on, and is not going to cause a potential issue down the road. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you folks may have.
No questions for you?
All good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business and the director's report.
Thank you, President Stevens, members of the board. So we'll start with our PCA. So this month's PCA is 0.01415 and 0.01458 for secondary meters. Henry Hub is projecting around $4 gas pricing, which is fairly what we've seen lately. The interesting thing when I look today is that they are not showing any futures gas pricing past March of next year. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or I just caught it at the wrong time. So hopefully it's a good thing and the trends are going to continue to try to keep this stable. And I'm probably going to get this number wrong, but looking at this number, this is the first month that we've actually done it with the new base rate. And I believe if Carmen, if I remember what Carmen told me, it's about a 5% decrease from what it would have been if we had the old base rate of $67 per megawatt hour instead of the $70 per megawatt hour. So we are seeing that little bit of difference there as well. On September 1st or September 21st, the city of Zeeland placed a call very early on a Sunday morning to request some mutual aid, or they had some straight line winds up there. Zeeland is mostly underground, but unfortunately the area that was overhead got hit with the winds and blew down a lot of their poles across the road. So they had requested mutual aid from CBPU, Niles, Holland, and Lowell all responded and did work beautifully. They're all back home that evening by 6:30. So great job to them and thank you for their support and the response. Brand new truck, if you'll see it driving around in town, truck 26 went into service. Just to give you an idea, as far as when we look at lead times for things, this was approved by this board in November of 2021. And it was originally supposed to be received in June of 24, but kept on getting pushed back. And it just got received last month and is in service now. Old truck 26 is now in the telecommunication department to replace the black truck that you see driving around, because we've had a lot of issues, maintenance issues with that truck. So that is a replacement for that one. Today is October 1st, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is pink in October. So you'll be seeing our city and CBPU crews out there with their pink hard hats, as well as office staff wearing pink shirts on Fridays in support of breast cancer awareness. The proclamation that you guys had approved earlier is for Public Utilities Week. Nationally, it's known as Public Power Week, but we incorporated all of our utilities because we are a one-stop shop. So the week of October 5th through the 11th will be Public Utilities Week. We'll be celebrating that. We'll be working with a coloring contest. There's be some stuff on our website and some other appreciation activities. We'll also be in the schools doing our Monster Detective program, which was just recently awarded an AMP award for its public power communications during their national conference or during their annual conference. With the construction at Rotary Park, unfortunately, Haunted Forest is going to be canceled this year. So hopefully they can get through the Rotary Park renovations for next year and have Haunted Forest again. Just a reminder that you'll get an extra hour of sleep Sunday, November 2nd, if you remember to set your clock back. If not, you'll be the only one that is up at that time and trying to get into a store or restaurant, which is closed. November elections, Tuesday, November 4th, so please vote. A couple certificates of appreciation. So we got one from Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy Eagle for having 40 years of protecting the environment at our wastewater treatment plant for our industrial pretreatment program. In addition to that, behind there's two thank yous, one from the Coldwater Hispanic Heritage Coalition for our sponsorship for their first, which we believe is going to be an annual celebration, as well as from the Coldwater Chamber of Commerce for a sponsorship in their fundraising golf outing. And with that, that is my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Don't look like there's any questions. So the date of the next meeting?
Wednesday, November 5th.
Okay. Any questions before we adjourn? Seeing none, we are adjourned.